Yeah.
Not the Spencer, but
the other Spencer.
And just ask how they're doing. I think everyone's doing pretty good. Justin told me his brother's struggling a little bit, but
like the one dude that's going to be out with us.
No. That would be Justin's brother-in-law. That's Brooklyn's brother, Judson.
Oh, you're talking about like Jacob?
Yeah, Jacob. You know Jacob.
Yeah. Oh, sad.
Yeah, so he said Jacob's struggling a little bit, but
yeah.
Here, he said things are going pretty well. I mean, that's normal. I mean,
probably need to head in the other room.
You know, you have your week, and especially as first year salesman, it can be a little challenging.
Yeah, totally.
Hey, Catherine, can you hear me?
Yeah, but I can't see you.
So I think my camera might be not working right now.
Oh, okay.
So I think I don't know what's going on right now. I'm looking at like the diagnostics or whatever that it says doesn't detect a camera connection to your computer. But I have one. I just don't know why it's not working.
It's fine.
So anyways, let's see what we can do here really quick. And I'm not sure. It doesn't look like Allie's popping up either. Allie, can you hear us?
Can you guys hear me or see me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. And I can see you. My camera's not working for whatever reason.
My camera wasn't working on my computer, and neither was my microphone. I have no idea. So I'm like having to use it on my phone.
Oh, okay.
Isn't ideal, but it's okay.
Okay, mine's doing the same thing for some reason. It says that my computer's, or sorry, it says that I don't have a computer, but I definitely, or sorry, don't have a video, but I definitely do. I don't know what's going on though.
Okay.
And
So I think it's okay if we can't see you, as long as like your voice is being recorded.
I think so too. I think we're okay.
So did you guys read the Army crew case thing?
Yeah.
Okay, because that's what the discussion's about.
Okay.
Do we know if the other running?
What?
What guy's name? Mark Grimm.
Is it three of us or is
check and it's the right number, and so I'm like, I don't know. And so I figured this time when I texted her, she would get back to me. Because now, like, I saw her, I told her about it. So I texted her.
Okay, we start with the discussion questions.
Okay, I'm gonna grab some headphones real quick. For whatever reason, the volume on my computer, I don't know what's going on with my Mac right now, but it's deciding to throw a curveball, of course. Let me grab some headphones really quick.
Okay.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay? Okay. That'll be a little bit better because I can control the volume on these. Sweet.
Okay, so should we just go ahead and start with the discussion questions?
Yeah, of course, that's awesome.
Okay, so the first part is, why does the varsity team lose to the JV team? So the first question I have for you is, do you guys think that the varsity members engaged in too much conflict, and what was the conflict about? Is there any appropriate place for conflict among the members of the varsity crew or among the members of any team?
So this is kind of my personal bias on the question, but just from like what I've read in a lot of textbooks and just my own personal experience, like it depends on like what kind of sport you're involved in. And so like if you were involved in like a very competitive sport where your individual strengths determine the outcomes, like it's obviously important for you to be a little bit competitive and aggressive. But a huge factor in team sports is the fact that you're all on the same page and that you all have the same purpose and that you're all unified and not button heads with each other, else it just doesn't go very far.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. I think that like conflict in any aspect of your life just doesn't get you anywhere. Like you'll never resolve something if there's conflict.
Totally.
What do you think, Catherine?
Can you repeat the question?
It was, is there an appropriate place for conflict among the members of the varsity crew or among the members of any team?
Well, I think in a sense brings out like different opinions, which can be good. But as far as in this case, I don't think it was because of them being unified.
Yeah.
Just in the nature of the sport.
Totally.
I totally agree. Second question is, what role did trust play in the problems the varsity crew faced? And is trusting other rowers necessary for crew team success? Is the trust the same as an individual member's trust? And what happens to team trust if you replace a member of the team?
So all really good questions. I think that trusting others, especially in this instance, because in the case study, it mentioned that if somebody's lacking, they have to trust that that person's going to pick back up and get back on track. And so I think especially for the varsity, well, any crew team, it was pretty important that they trust each other. I think that like you have to be able to trust like each person to put forth all their effort, or else group work. I don't know if this has been your experience, but with group work, it always feels like there's individuals that aren't pulling their weight, and that can be like an extremely difficult thing, you know, in doing group work. But like when you have that confidence that like everybody's going to do their part, I feel like group work is just amazing. It doesn't happen all the time, but like when it does happen, like we had an awesome we did an awesome internship this last semester, and everybody more or less pulled their weight, and it just was a different group work experience.
Yeah, I definitely think trust is like a huge a huge part of any team success, especially when you're on sports, because you have to trust your other team members to like bring it home and to be able to like get the job done. Like you have to be able to rely on one another, and if you don't have a solid foundation of trust, then it's not going to be a very pleasant experience for any of you.
Totally, I would agree 100%.
I guess answering the last question that you stated, if it would make a difference changing one team member, I feel like it would make a huge difference, because I think even one person can change the whole dynamic of the group.
Yeah, I have to agree. Okay, I'm gonna ask you guys one more question. My phone's gonna die, so I have to run upstairs and grab the charger.
Okay.
But the third question is, how did the rivalry between the two boats influence varsity's performance? Would the varsity have faster times if they had practiced alone? Is fostering competition between teams within an organization harmful to the organization? And should the coach have stepped in to provide better leadership himself, or should he have encouraged one of the team members to provide leadership? So you guys could like think about that. I'll be right back.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, yeah, so it's like shorter than a longboard.
Yeah, it's like shorter than a real longboard. And it's got, this one's called the zigzagger. So it's got like a cool little shape.
Okay.
But,
Oh, sweet.
yeah.
Isaac has one. Really? Yeah, I've written it around. It's a lot of fun. Nice.
There we go. Okay, so do we want to keep going?
Yeah, of course.
So
So,
what guys? What do you guys think?
What was that, Catherine?
Interesting because of this case for another class we did. So I was saying that this case for, and one thing that we discussed a lot was that the coach had creating rivalry between the two groups. It probably did increase the competition, but I think regardless, in the varsity team,
Mm-hmm.
having them compete against each other just kind of was an extension of that.
Yeah, and I definitely think that, like, as for the coach, like, I think he could have provided a little bit better of leadership, but I also think it's important to instill leadership, like, within the kid, like your team members, or I don't know what coaches call their kids, but I think that's like an important foundation to have, is that the kids should be able to lead themselves if the coach isn't there, because in the real world you have to, figure things out for yourself. So I think it was it at the same time, like, he could have stepped in, but I think that he should have encouraged more for the team members to lead one another.
Oh, totally. I would agree 100%. So just kind of, I guess I'll kind of put in my 2 cents or whatever, but I kind of agree with Catherine on the fact that, like, I think that the competition, like, between the two boats is like a really good thing, because that gap in their performance it really does create the desire. Okay, we need to really step things up because the JVs, they're gunning for us or whatever. But I feel like at that point, because of the experience leading up to that, it was just more frustrating than it was helpful. Like, at that point, it was almost disheartening versus motivating, because they were just getting their butts kicked, and they kept butting each other's heads. And at that point, it's just like, doesn't matter how hard they row, they're all rowing against each other. And so it didn't actually help to motivate the team. It just pissed them off.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So moving forward, what do you think Coach P should have done differently earlier in the season to resolve the problem? And at what point do you think he should have intervened? Explain exactly what you think he should have done.
So I think, go ahead, Catherine.
I was just gonna say, I remember the JV team having like a motto. What was it?
Nothing to lose.
Yeah, totally. That, like, they were gonna give everything, and then just, no matter what the outcome was, be happy with it, knowing that they tried their best. And I think just encouraging an attitude like that, and I guess if I was the coach, I would have had them practice separately. So
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And what do you think, Britton?
So I think that what I would have hoped to have done if I was coaching this team is just, like, recognize the problem, and include, like, my team in, like, what we're going to do about resolving the issue. Because, like, I think it's kind of like a remember the Titans moment, where if these people, they were far better performers, they were athletically superior to the JV team, but it came down to the level of respect and love that they had for their team. And so whatever the coach could have done to bring that out, I feel like, instead of pitting the teams against each other. What they've shown in a lot of psychology studies, that one way to get people to just naturally unify is to get them to unify in one purpose and to accomplish a goal. And I think that if the coach maybe would have recognized that and had both the JV and the varsity work together in some capacity, and maybe would have been able to resolve, or even had the varsity alone work on things outside of the rowing, things that would bring them closer together, so that way it would carry over into their rowing. And so I think that would have been really smart on his part. And then I think that just getting them to relax a little bit, there's something really unique that takes place when you're relaxed and you feel comfortable where you're at. And I think that if the coach could have found some way to get these guys to relax a little bit, it would have helped quite a bit as well.
No, I totally agree with you. I definitely think that I think communication is key. It's a solid foundation for any aspect in life. And so I think that the biggest thing he could have done differently was just how he approached communicating with the team and how the team communicated with one another. I think it would have made a huge difference.
Totally.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
So what do you think Coach P should do on Wednesday, and why? And how would it impact the team?
So I'm assuming this is the Tuesday in reference to after he's going to make his decision. Is that what they're referring to?
Yeah, I believe so.
So ironically, this is kind of a fun topic because I just read a book called Boys in the Boat. And it was interesting because it was their junior varsity team that took them to the Olympics. And it's kind of a similar case where it wasn't a matter of performance. It was just a matter of the fact that the junior varsity team clicked, and they clicked on all levels, and they worked really hard. And so what the coach did is he just recognized that this was the team that was going to take them to the Olympics, and he had to make the judgment call, but he had to do kind of what was best for everybody. And I think that no offense to the varsity team, but they didn't earn it. I think they maybe have been better rowers, but they didn't do what was necessary to become the superior team.
Yeah, I definitely think that in situations like this, you have to put in the work, and if you're not willing to put in the work, then you don't deserve a reward. But that's that in any aspect of life. You don't just get things handed to you.
Totally.
Catherine, do you have any?
Well, I don't know. I think I would try to sit down the varsity to make the stakes not as high, so they weren't so cutthroat at each other whenever they did make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have kept team though, because I don't know. I think that if JV were to go in their place,
Mm-hmm.
that they were,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Sorry, you keep cutting out, so I can't, it might be that I'm on my phone.
That's okay.
Okay, so we are supposed to talk about the Fortune article on what Coach P did. Have you guys read that?
No, actually, I didn't have a chance to read that. Is it the one that? So I went to read this, and it said that I had to subscribe, and I didn't know what that meant, and I didn't want to sign up for anything dumb, and so I didn't do it. But did you guys have a chance to read that?
I had the same issue, so I was just gonna see if it was any different. Let me see if I can just.
So I think what ended up happening was
Here it is. It says that through extensive testing, he had developed objective criteria to rank his rowers. He then put the 8 best in his dream team in the varsity boat and 8 others in the junior varsity boat. The problem was the JV beat the varsity 2/3 of the time. The situation, as explained in a Harvard Business School case, was that the varsity was full of resentment over who was contributing most, while the JV, feeling they had nothing to lose, supported one another happily. So I kind of think that, like, what it boiled down to is like one team having a better attitude than the other.
Totally.
If that makes sense. Like the JV, like just was more determined, like just felt like they didn't have anything to lose, and so they gave it their all, and they ended up beating the varsity. And I'm sure that probably made the varsity mad, but like we were talking about before, if you don't put in the work, then you don't really deserve the reward.
Totally. And ironically, I feel like the varsity team, like physically, they probably worked harder than any of, well, they did. They worked harder. They were better than the junior varsity team, but it was the ego that got them in trouble. They just all assumed that they were like, there was that portion of the case study where they started calling everybody out, and they're like, no, I've been putting in, like, I feel like I'm the only one pulling the boat. I'm the only one pulling the boat. And when you get that sort of entitled nature mixed up in this kind of a thing, it just doesn't work. Like, teamwork is about, it comes down to Christ-like leadership. It's putting yourself at the bottom in service of other people and recognizing that you're not the only one out there pulling. And I don't think any of those guys recognize that.
No, and it even says that, I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
Says that Coach P, he lined like the varsity crew up into 4 pairs, and he told them they had to wrestle, no punching for 90 seconds, and that there was no clear winners. And then it said each man was discovering that his opponent was just as strong and as determined as he was. And then he had them change opponents and wrestle again. And by the 3rd round, they were choosing their own opponents. One guy would point at another and say, you. And finally, one of the rowers started laughing, and they all piled into a general brawl.
Oh, that's kind of fun.
Yeah. So I think it just is like the same thing. Like, you just have to, like, you on a team, you need to work together, and you need to like take the determination that you have like from each other and just morph it into one. And that's like how you'll win. I mean, it's like the same with any team. Like, I'm sure all these basketball teams in the playoffs don't just play every man for themselves. It's a team sport, and you have to, play together.
Totally. Catherine, you got anything for us?
No.
Sweet. What's next?
And so this is just the end. So individually, what is the most important thing that you two learned from this case? You can take some time to think about it. I personally appreciated that it kind of had an underlining metaphor, and that it is teaching us that hard work pays off, and that when you are respectful to members on your team and people in positions of leadership, that you'll be blessed. And it's the same thing you were saying earlier, Christ-like leadership, being able to be compassionate to other people and not being just out for yourself.
Totally.
I think the thing that I have been thinking a lot about, I guess, and it goes with this case study, is trusting other people.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like what we were saying, if one person made a mistake, you wouldn't be able to fix it for them, but you just have to wait till they correct it themselves. And I think it's really easy to, I guess, get frustrated or put blame on other people when they do make mistakes, but realizing that you just have to let people struggle sometimes so that they will learn from it. Yeah, so that's what I've kind of been learning as far as developing leadership skills.
Yeah, I think trust is like, it's a huge thing. Like in any relationship, like a marriage, a friendship, like a romantic relationship, like it just, I don't know.
Totally. I think that, and just in line with some of the thoughts, I think like just a reiteration that trust, and then like being a little bit vulnerable. That's something that one of my professors highlights a lot in his courses, and he just talks about how it's important to trust other people. And but it's interesting because this semester I served as the Elders Quorum president back in my home stake in the YSA, and then this semester I got called as last semester I got called as the Elders Quorum president again. And like one of the biggest struggles for me was to trust that things would get done. You make assignments and stuff like that, and it was ironic because I was kind of setting myself up for failure because I was trying to kind of do everything myself, not trusting that things would get done and that they would get done my way. And I think that's a huge leadership pitfall that I'm trying to work past, is because if you don't trust the people you're working with, like you can't treat them like toddlers. You know, you have to be able to say, okay, this is your responsibility, and I trust you to get it done, and not sugarcoat things. And I think that's something that I kind of struggle with, is delegating my responsibility, because once I delegate, then I'm no longer in control. I can't do it. And so this case study is just kind of reiteration of like, I have to, I don't know, for myself especially, learn to trust other people, and that other people are going to pull their weight, and then I just have to do my part. So, and it's kind of cool because this I feel like there's been a definite shift, as I've gotten further into the semester. So it's been fun.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I just, trust is really important, and it's good to be able to trust other people. I struggle with being able to trust people like openly in relationships. I mean, it's different in like group settings, but when you're like working and stuff, you have to be able to trust your coworkers and trust your bosses. So I totally second like what you're saying. So the last few questions is, how would you both rate the overall quality of today's discussion from 0 to 10? And what did you like that I did, like as the discussion leader, and what can I do better next time?
So I don't know. I feel like things, ironically, I usually am not a big fan of the online chatting experience, but I feel like this one's actually been really good. And as far as what we can do better, I really feel like for our first go at things went as smoothly as we could expect. So I feel like you were plenty prepared with the questions, and you facilitated really well. So nothing from me.
Yeah, I think it went well, and I'm glad we were able to kind of pull it together.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good thing you remembered, Brenton. Otherwise, we would have been like in deep trouble.
No, honestly, I just stumbled across it last night, so it was just, I was in the right place at the right time reading stuff. So.
So do you want to upload this to the Google Plus? Because I literally have no idea how to do it, and I don't know that I can because I'm talking on my phone.
Yeah, no. So right now it says that I'm broadcasting. So I'm assuming that this is similar to our introduction videos. So when I stop the broadcast, what I'll do is just copy the link over, and it should be good to go, I think.
Okay, perfect. Awesome, you guys. So I think this went really well, and we'll talk again on Wednesday, since we have that huge doohickey problem coming up. So
totally.
Wednesday is still perfect for you guys?
That'll work.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll work great.
All right, I'll see you guys Wednesday.
Okay. Good luck getting things pulled together. It was good seeing you guys. Take care, okay?
Yeah, see you.
Okay.